Okay, what we're going to look at next today is climate graphs. So this is a way we can visually represent, but also accurately represent what the climate in a particular country is like. So in these graphs, what we're looking at is what is the average weather condition over a period of time, in this case over a year. What would the average year look like in that country? So what we're learning here is we should know what information is presented in a climate graph. We should be able to read the information from a climate graph and be able to explore what that climate graph is showing us. Now, if we look here, it says climate is the weather taken on average over many years. Climate information is usually recorded on graphs, and it shows us patterns of weather over the course of a year. So there's not any, I don't, well, there's not really anywhere in the world which 365 days a year has exactly the same weather every day. So when we're talking about average weather conditions, we're looking at how that changes. So for example, in a temperate zone, we're seeing a cold winter, a mild summer. So in a temperate climate, the climate changes over and the weather changes over the course of the year, and these sort of conditions we can say are this type of climate because every summer it's going to be quite mild, every winter it's going to be quite cold. Now, climate graphs are when you take a line graph and a bar graph and you basically put them together on one piece of paper in the same place, and we can see this here. So firstly, there's a bar graph. Now, the bar graph shows us the rainfall. Now, the easy way to remember that is we'd always put that in blue. So think water is blue, rainfall. Okay, not that water is really blue, but let's go with it. In cartoons, you see water is blue, it means rainfall. And it works like a normal graph. Down the left-hand side, we would see the millimeters, which is what you measure rainfall in. So we'd see if we wanted to read this graph, we would be looking at our x-axis, would tell us the month, and then the y-axis on the left-hand side, we would be using to read that. So we'd be looking at January, and we'd be seeing about probably about 91, 92 millimeters of rain in January. So we'd ignore everything going on in these numbers on the right-hand side, and we'd only look at the ones on the left-hand side. It's almost like you're pretending this other part, this line graph and this aren't there when you're looking at the rainfall. Okay, now temperature is what we see with a line graph. So again, these share an x-axis. So we use the same, whether we're looking at our rainfall or our temperature, we're looking at the same x-axis. But then we're ignoring the y-axis on the left-hand side, and we're looking at this other axis on the right-hand side. And this tells us the temperature in degrees Celsius. And normally we'd put this in red. So think red for hot, even if it's showing your cold temperature. Just remember blue for water, red is hot. Okay, so red is temperature. And we'd be looking here. So if we wanted January, we'd look here and we wouldn't say January is 20 because that is all about rainfall. We would have to go all the way over to here and we would see in January it's probably about 3 degrees is the average temperature. Okay, now we can learn quite a bit from a graph like this. Now, taking this one for example, I can tell from this I'm seeing, well, red is telling me temperature. So when is it warmest? It's warmest in June, July, August. So what does that tell me about this place? Now, I don't know where this climate graph is for, but I know from this it's somewhere in the Northern Hemisphere because the hottest part of the year is your summer. And in the Northern Hemisphere, summer takes place in June, July, August. Now, if I was looking at the graph you're going to be studying, you'll see the hottest part of the year is around December, January time. So that would tell me it's somewhere in the Southern Hemisphere, somewhere like South Africa or Australia, where summer doesn't take place in June, July, August. It takes place in November, December, January, February time. Okay, tells me that. Also, I can get from this, well, there's a very dry summer and there's quite a wet winter. Now, that could suggest possibly tropical. It could also suggest, I don't know, until I had more information with some, I might be tempted to call this a Mediterranean climate because it's a very dry summer here. It's quite a wet winter, and the winter isn't really going below 10 degrees, well, below 12 degrees. It's quite a mild winter, and the summer is quite warm because it's getting up to above 30. So maybe it's tropical, maybe it's Mediterranean, but I can do quite a bit of guesswork just looking at this graph. Now, what you're going to do next is going to be a graph in your class notebook, and you're going to use that graph to try and answer some questions. Remember, come into the meet if you're not sure about anything.